Trudeau, what did you do to us? I'm so pissed. Trudeau is now a mouse in the kitchen running around. You see them just under your cabinetry. His own cabinet has a broom and they're trying to get him. Trudeau's the worst manager in history of Canada. I've said that countless times. Trudeau has killed Canada.
Kevin O'Leary, the outspoken entrepreneur famously known as Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, is no stranger to controversy. But this time, he is making waves by aiming at Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau live on national television. Known for his blunt and unapologetic style, OLearys Criticism was not just another political way of poking Trudeau. It was a call to action, causing debates across the country about the state of Canada's economy and Trudeau's ability to lead. As we move forward, I'd like to ask you a quick favor to subscribe and like this video. It helps so much. Thank you. The live broadcast, aired during prime time, promised a detailed discussion of the nation's economy, but quickly turned into a headline-grabbing criticism of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Trudeau is now a mouse in the kitchen running around. You see them just under your cabinetry. His own cabinet has a broom and they're trying to get him. They're going to get him. They're going to get that little mouse pretty soon, and it's going to be great because it's going to open up Canada to bring back.
The timing of this appearance couldn't have been more significant. With Canada battling with rising inflation, a housing crisis, and mounting frustrations over climate policies, O'Leary's pointed commentary struck a nerve. It is now popularly known that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is currently grappling with a series of political and economic challenges that have made his leadership increasingly unstable. One of the most pressing issues facing his government is rising inflation and the cost of living. Canadians are feeling the pinch as everyday essentials become more expensive, from groceries to gas. This has led to widespread dissatisfaction, with many blaming the government's economic policies for the financial strain. The housing affordability crisis is another major concern. With home prices soaring and rent becoming unaffordable for many, Canadians are struggling to achieve the dream of home ownership. Trudeau's policies, which have been seen as ineffective in addressing the supply-demand imbalance, have sparked frustration across the country, particularly among younger generations who feel locked out of the housing market. Trudeau's carbon tax has also come under fire, with critics arguing that it is increasing energy costs for Canadians. As fuel and heating prices rise, the tax has become a lightning rod for anger, especially in regions where people feel they are being unfairly burdened. According to O'Leary, the policies under Trudeau's leadership, particularly in the energy sector, have discouraged potential investors and negatively affected job creation.
It's better than what we have right now. Trudeau has killed Canada. The amount of capital that has left Canada in the last 8.5 years, the GDP per capita, the collapse of investment in Canada, it's all on him.
One major example he highlighted is energy production cuts, which he believes have damaged Canada's energy independence and economic potential. O'Leary also points to overregulation as a key factor, arguing that excessive government intervention is discouraging entrepreneurs and businesses from thriving. In particular, the carbon tax is a target of his criticism, as O'Leary sees it as a burdensome policy that harms industries and increases costs for consumers without providing tangible environmental benefits. O'Leary has been outspoken in condemning Trudeau's handling of the housing crisis in Canada. With skyrocketing housing prices and a lack of affordable options, O'Leary believes that Trudeau has failed to implement effective measures to tackle this issue. According to O'Leary, the government's policies have not only been ineffective, but have worsened the situation for everyday Canadians who are struggling to make ends meet. O'Leary argues that Trudeau's failure to address the housing affordability problem is a clear sign of mismanagement and disconnected leadership, leaving many Canadians to fend for themselves in a market they can't afford. In the past, Kevin O'Leary has often drawn leadership comparisons between Prime Minister Trudeau and U.S. politicians, particularly pointing to aspects of Trump-like governance.
Trump will not be negotiating with Trudeau. He'll be dealing with a guy named Pierre Poilievre who will get majority mandate. I think Trump should invite him down to Mar-a-Lago now. I don't know what the protocol and all that is, but he'll be dealing with Pierre. He might as well.
He was much more ideologically aligned with Trump.
Well, here's what Poilievre has already said. I'm going to lift the ban on pipelines. I'm going to kill the carbon tax to be competitive with Texas, and I'm going to open all kinds of investment in Canada. That's Trump's kind of guy. So I know he talked to Trudeau last night, but Trudeau is checking out of Dodge.
In his view, Pierre Poilievre represents a common-sense leader, similar to U.S. President Donald Trump, offering straightforward solutions and focusing on the needs of everyday Canadians. OLeary views Poilievre as a reasonable alternative, emphasizing his practical approach to governance and policies that address the concerns of Canadians directly. OLeary advocates for scrapping the carbon tax, arguing that it is a burdensome policy that affects Canadian consumers while failing to provide meaningful environmental benefits. He believes that eliminating the carbon tax will reduce costs for businesses and individuals, helping economic growth. Another key aspect of OLeary's vision is to boost energy production in Canada. He sees this as an important step for reviving the economy and creating jobs, emphasizing the importance of unleashing Canada's energy potential to attract investment and drive economic recovery. He is also focused on promoting policies that attract business investment back to Canada. He argues that a more business-friendly environment, including less regulatory burden and tax incentives for companies, will help bring back jobs and improve Canada's international competitiveness. In his warnings about the future under Trudeau's continued leadership, he predicts economic collapse, international embarrassment, and shrinking opportunities for Canadians if the current policies are not reversed. OLeary emphasizes that the longer Trudeau stays in power, the worse the situation will get, with rising costs, declining investor confidence, and a loss of Canada's global reputation. Since Kevin O'Leary's fiery remarks aired live on television, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has remained notably silent on the matter, at least publicly. While Trudeau's team has occasionally addressed similar critiques, this particular outburst by O'Leary hasn't triggered a direct or immediate response from the Prime Minister. Many political analysts have pointed out the lack of an official response, suggesting that Trudeau may be strategically choosing not to engage with O'Leary's personal attack, particularly given O'Leary's influence and history of controversial commentary. However, Trudeau's supporters have reacted. Many defend his leadership, downplaying O'Leary's criticism as the usual political posturing of a businessman turned commentator with his own agenda. Supporters continue to cite Trudeau's efforts in areas like climate change, immigration, and social justice, asserting that while his leadership has challenges, he is focused on the greater good of Canada's future. Critics, on the other hand, argue that Trudeau's inaction in addressing concerns like inflation, housing prices, and the carbon tax is a direct result of his lack of leadership. Despite the absence of a direct response, it's clear that Trudeau's leadership is being heavily scrutinized, especially with rising discontent within his base and increasing opposition from figures like O'Leary. O'Leary's harsh words have sparked a massive public reaction, with Canadians across the political spectrum voicing their opinions. The debate has become a hot topic on social media, with Twitter, Facebook, and other platforms seeing heated discussions about Trudeau's leadership and O'Leary's critique. On Twitter, hashtags like #TiredTrudeauFail and on OLeary 4 p.m. quickly started trending, reflecting divided public sentiment. Trudeau's supporters have flooded platforms with comments defending his vision for Canada, while his critics have largely embraced O'Leary's statements, aligning with his calls for common-sense leadership. Some memes have emerged, humorously exaggerating Trudeau's response, or lack thereof, making it a running joke that Trudeau avoided the confrontation due to his perceived inability to address the concerns raised. As O'Leary's comments are echoed by political figures and media outlets alike, Poilievre's popularity continues to climb. Many Canadians see him as a common-sense alternative to Trudeau, particularly for those dissatisfied with the direction the country is taking under Liberal leadership. His clear-cut policies and no-nonsense approach are seen as a refreshing change by voters looking for something different than the status quo. The growing support for Poilievre is reflected not only in poll numbers but also in the increasing number of donations to his campaign and the enthusiastic turnout at his rallies. O'Leary's support for Poilievre, including his endorsement of Poilievre's leadership style, has only fueled this momentum, positioning the Conservative leader as a challenger to Trudeau's grip on power. The stakes are high, and the upcoming political showdown is one to watch closely as it could reshape Canada's political landscape.